we're excited to go ahead and get started. And so I'll let Melissa take it away.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon or morning or evening, wherever it is, wherever you are. Thanks so much for attending our session. This is Social Impact Careers, Turning Passions into Real-World Applications. My name is Melissa Nelson. I am the staff director for the Social Impact Hub at Rollins College. And in just a couple of moments, I'll give my colleagues and co-presenters a chance to introduce themselves. I already see that the chat is getting some action, which is great. We do want this to be an interactive session, so please feel free to keep putting questions, comments, anything in the chat. We will be monitoring that as a team as we go along. So thanks for utilizing that, and please feel free to continue to do so. So before we move forward, we do want to acknowledge that we are broadcasting this session from Rollins College, which is in Winter Park, Florida, and that Central Florida is the traditional territory of the Timucua and Takabago people. During the 1700s, many Native Americans fled their homelands and their tribes to escape slavery and other forms of colonialism. For the tribes that landed in Central Florida, they merged with Native peoples into what became known as Seminoles. We do encourage you to visit this website that's listed here on the slide, and it will also be put in the chat for you all to click through so that you can learn more about the Seminole tribe of Florida and how you may support their ongoing services to the Native American community. And so again, we all are colleagues at Rollins College. We are a small liberal arts institution of approximately 3,000 students from all over the country and the world. We do have a few awards and rankings listed, but of course we are recognized as a changemaker campus, which we are very proud of. And so now I'd like to let my colleagues and co-presenters introduce themselves.
All right, so happy that you all are here to join us. My name is Liz Bernstein. I serve as the Associate Director for Career Advising at the Center for Career and Life Planning.
And my name is Ann Stone. I'm the Faculty Director of the Social Impact Hub and an Associate Professor in the Department of Communication at Rollins College. And now that we've introduced ourselves, we would love to get a quick sense of who is in the room. So if you don't mind sharing, I know we can see a little bit of your bios in the participant window, but if you don't mind sharing in the chat who you are, what you do, maybe even why you joined this session, and then separately, not in the chat, just on a piece of paper if you have one nearby. We want you to start thinking about who are the people that you work with, in particular, who is a colleague or a department that you haven't connected with in a while, and what might be holding you back from making that connection. So we'll give folks just a few seconds to start populating the chat with who you are, what you do, and maybe why you decided to come to this session on social impact careers. And on a separate piece of paper, somebody you haven't connected with in a while and what's holding you back. And we'll come back to that later in the session. And so maybe while folks are doing that, we can go ahead and get moving and tell you a little bit more about Rollins and the collaboration that will be the focus of our presentation today. So Melissa will maybe get started with the Social Impact Hub, and then Liz will talk about CCLP.
Absolutely. So again, I am the staff director, and Ann Stone is the faculty director of the Social Impact Hub. We are a creative space where we help students identify the social and the environmental issues that they care about most. We use the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals as a framework for this so that students have a way to articulate the things that they really care about within those sub-goals and the intersectionality of those goals. And then we give them tools and actionable resources so that they can make a difference and move the needle on those issues.
All right. And the Center for Career and Life Planning, we also call it CCLP. So I imagine that I will fall into that too during this session. We are a centralized career services office that serves both our undergraduate and graduate students other than our MBA program. our main mission is to support the mission of the college, part of which is to help students live meaningful lives and productive careers. One of the ways that we actually strengthen our relationship with the MBA program is our connection to the Social Impact Hub. And so that's been an incredibly beneficial relationship for us. We provide typical career development services like working on resumes, applying to graduate school. We also oversee on-campus student employment. And that is also one of the ways, Melissa is going to talk about a little bit later about the on-campus student employment in the Social Impact Hub. And that is one of the ways that we have supported this relationship as well. We are very excited to talk a little bit more about one of our kind of new co-curricular spaces that was built. We have been able to all move together to co-locate into one main hub on campus. That's the Kathleen W. Rollins Hall, and that opened at the end of 2019. But we really want to emphasize the fact that we were collaborating well before that co-location happened. So just to give you some context as to some of the ways that we were collaborating directly between the CCLP and the Social Impact Hub, both of our offices were really suffering from, geographic deficiencies. So our office was located at the very far edge of campus. The Social Impact Hub moved around a lot to different buildings and different campus offices over the past few years. And so it was really difficult to get foot traffic to our centers. One of the ways that we started collaborating, though, was actually I was personally invited onto, we have a changemaker committee made up of the staff from the Social Impact Hub, faculty from the social entrepreneurship major and social innovation majors, as well as our MBA program. And I was invited onto that committee to talk more about how do we make sure that our students are being exposed to amazing internship experiences. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later, but that was really kind of where the seed was planted for the collaboration that we had moving forward. After 2019 and after we had the really amazing building, no, you're totally okay. Yeah, stand here for just one more second. There was a change in leadership at the Social Impact Hub to the wonderful women who you see before you today. As I said, we all co-located to a new, brand new, beautiful building on campus. And there was a kind of new drive and fire under an initiative to really provide applied liberal learning, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more in a second. And then in the Social Impact Hub, there was that renewed focus on student-led learning, which Melissa's going to talk a little bit more about later. So I mentioned this Kathleen W. Rollins Hall. This was a center that was created in the middle of campus where 11 different offices and programs were all co-located together. We started to call this co-located center the Rollins Gateway. And then the Rollins Gateway kind of blossomed into kind of a campus-wide initiative and philosophy. It's a way that we can intentionally leverage the different offices that are co-located in the space, and it combines interdisciplinary curriculum with high-impact experiences that students can have both in and outside of the classroom. It also allows students to have an integrated mentorship model and lets them create a personalized pathway where they can, feel empowered to create their own path from walking into Rollins on their first day to graduation. The building is beautiful and allows us to put more energy into this collaboration, but it truly provided a physical representation of the collaboration that was already happening across campus. It allowed us to be more intentional in creating those horizontal connections between departments. We think that Rollins Gateway really allows us to combine the mission of the college with the meaning that students are making in their experiences, and also allows us to leverage the mentoring that students can get across the campus community.
And so we want everyone throughout this session to really keep that mission plus meaning plus mentoring in mind whenever we mention Rollins Gateway. Through several examples of our co-curricular programming, including the ones you see on this slide, social impact internships, on-campus student employment, our Innovator position, which Melissa will talk more about, designing your life modules and career courses, We are really trying to help our students and our colleagues see the value of developing a design thinking mindset, particularly as we're thinking about social impact and pursuing meaningful lives and productive careers.
So as I mentioned, one of the first ways that we started to strengthen the relationship between the Hub and the Center for Career and Life Planning was finding new and creative ways to make sure students were being exposed to internships that had a social impact. Not only have we highlighted social impact job search resources on our career management portal as well as on our website, we've also been able to tag social impact opportunities and organizations within the system. At CCLP, we particularly use Handshake. It's very easy to find out what career management portal your career services office is using. This also allowed the group to really discuss how we could best define social impact internship opportunities, whether that was an internship at a B Corp or a great impact-focused internship at a more typical for-profit organization. We've also increased our funding opportunities with funding opportunities over the past few years, including an opportunity that was made possible by the Johnson Family Foundation, which has allowed us to increase connections with employers who are hosting internships with social justice, specifically focused opportunities. These summer funding opportunities are available to all students, but we find that students looking for social impact opportunities often have the most need because sometimes they end up seeking unpaid internships, which is a conversation for another day. We also recognize that based on the specific focuses of our office, we may draw different employer partners. This particularly is a photo of an employer panel we hosted for students interested in social impact opportunities in collaboration with the Social Impact Hub. And we're constantly navigating how to best connect employers between our offices in ways that will be most beneficial for our students and the programming that we individually host.
So Liz has spoken to you a little bit about some external internships that we connect students with. And so I'm going to speak a little bit about some on-campus opportunities. And through the Social Impact Hub, we hire students for on-campus employment, and we refer to our student employees as innovators. This is a combination of our focus on social impact and innovation, kind of merged with the Rollins College mascot of Tommy the Tar. Students are hired for specific roles rather than as catch-all employees. And here you can see examples of 4 different titles. We actually have 10 innovators currently employed, but here's 4 examples just to give you a taste of some of these roles that students are specifically interviewing and hired for. One is a lead innovator, which is exactly what it sounds like. They are the lead undergrad employee, so they often help make meeting agendas and lead the meetings. They also are really instrumental in our assessment practices and student interviews, and making sure that students are getting the most out of their employment with us. The social innovation innovator is responsible for our design thinking facilitation on campus. So that could be perhaps going into a class and leading it through an academic course. It could be for a student organization, for a sports team. We do offer design thinking facilitation for a lot of different groups across campus. Our social entrepreneurship innovator is responsible for our impact incubator, and that is a workshop and cohort-led program where students actually can start their own impact ventures while they're still undergrad students. So some students will leave Rollins College already having started a business that's an impact organization. And we also have a campus partnership innovator, and their job is really just to make sure that we are being really collaborative, that we're not operating in a silo, we're not over-programming or duplicating efforts. We're working closely with other co-curricular areas, with student organizations, and with faculty to make sure that our programs, again, are collaborative and that they're also beneficial. So with a focus on teamwork and collaboration, innovators learn and improve their skills in public speaking, design thinking facilitation, and creative problem solving. Our assessment model begins with a goal-setting survey, which includes questions like, please list at least 2 goals or skills that are important to you as it relates both to your current and future employment, and also how will you integrate classroom learning with your work. Students take this survey at the beginning of their employment term, usually in late summer, and they're interviewed every month about progress on these goals. This is combined with a Qualtrics survey, both a pre and a post-employment, that utilizes validated measures for 21st century skills that include grit, meaning in life, empathy, and self-efficacy. These competencies were chosen because they relate to the Rollins Gateway ethos that we spoke about earlier of preparing students for meaningful lives and productive careers, and because research shows that they can be strengthened and they are shown to be a predictive indicator of success and a major catalyst for change-making behavior.
Partly in response to Rollins Gateway initiative, and maybe partly in response to the stress that people have been experiencing with COVID, Melissa and I, over the last few months, developed a two-part online module that draws heavily from Barnett and Evans' Designing Your Life book, 2016 book, and a little bit from their 2020 book on designing your work life. Connected to the Gateway piece, we partnered with a colleague who's on this call right now, Anne Meehan, who is teaching a course to students who are Rollins Gateway peer mentors. So the idea with Gateway is, of course, faculty and staff are on board, but really it's important that we have buy-in from our students, and we have a bunch of students on the call right now, right? You know well that we can share all sorts of things with you as your faculty and staff mentors, but when a peer shares it, it's different, right? It may be more meaningful. And so Anne Meehan's class is to prepare our student peer mentors. So she allowed Melissa and I to come in to do the first session, where our learning outcomes are to help students develop a design thinking mindset, recognize the myriad of resources available to students who are thinking about designing their path forward, and really to leverage Gateway, mission plus meaning plus mentorship as they move forward to pursue meaningful lives and have productive careers. We put a lot of emphasis on reflection in these modules, again, using the exercises like the life design assessment, where students evaluate their love, play, work, and health. Again, given COVID, this has been particularly important for students who are feeling like they have no control over things that are going on. And so through some vulnerability on our part and sharing how we feel when we look at our dashboard and see that not everything is always 100% full, and the students reflecting on where they are, we can help them see what their place is in the world and how planning forward and thinking about where they are, coupled with the world's greatest needs and challenges, that there are careers that they're going to find meaning in and that they're going to be able to make a real difference. So as part of these presentations that Melissa and I give, we overview the 5 mindsets of a design thinker, and we try to help them see that this approach can be useful for solving lots of wicked problems, including the next steps in their life design. And so Liz is going to talk a little bit about a different course that's offered through our Center for Career and Life Planning.
Absolutely. So just to provide some kind of historical context at Rollins, the Designing Your Life course and other kind of course integration, we were able to integrate career and life planning and career development concepts into courses because we have worked really hard over the past few years to make sure that there is co-curricular representation for career development across campus. And so the Designing Your Life course and Designing Your Life module is one representation of that. Another one is actually a course that we host. It's usually a half semester course. We host it multiple times a year called Making Any Major Marketable. And in that course, our goal really is to help students understand different ways to identify their transferable skills, whether that's through extracurricular activities or participation in design thinking theory at the hub, and different ways to be able to talk about those co-curricular experiences in their application materials and in the interview process. I actually posted a link to our resource page where we also have a really wonderful additional resource called our Market Your Experience Guides, which really is kind of a quick guide for students to also see what are my transferable skills based on this particular experience that I participated in, and how might I highlight that on my application materials?
So on this slide, we do want to highlight two recent graduates that really did leverage their time at Rollins and all of the resources at Rollins. Because at the Hub, we do want to be a convener of change-making knowledge rather than the owners of this knowledge. And we appreciate that faculty and staff from across campus possess valuable expertise in this space. And also because design thinking is an inherently collaborative methodology, that we do encourage students to use the resources in Kathleen W. Rollins Hall that we've spoken about, but across campus. And so this slide shows two students who did design their way through their Rollins journey, and they utilizes resources from all over, including the Social Impact Hub and the Center for Career and Life Planning, to have meaningful and productive careers. So at the top, you'll see Kinsley Girk. She actually just graduated in December of 2020, and she was a transfer student and came to Rollins specifically because she knew that she was interested in social entrepreneurship. She was an innovator from her very first semester, so she's been involved with the Hub from day one, basically. She actually ended up changing her major to social innovation. She thought that was a little bit of a better fit, although still related, obviously, with a studio art minor. She competed in and won our Ideas for Good pitch competition and the Holt Prize competition, which is a global competition that I think many Ashoka schools participate in. And she created the Impact Incubator that I spoke about earlier. She, upon graduation, right out of school, was hired as the assistant director at Rollins Center for Advanced Entrepreneurship. Another graduate that really leveraged all the opportunities she had at Rollins, Alexis Meeks, graduated in 2016. She was a psychology major, and she also collaborated with students across disciplines like biology, economics, and computer science, which is really interesting because these aren't majors that typically that we might necessarily associate with design thinking and change making, right? We think of social innovation, social entrepreneurship. So she was really smart in knowing that you can make any major, right, work in this situation. And so she also, through the Center for Career and Life Planning, got an internship with the Advent Health Innovation Lab. And also, while she was a student, she participated in student-faculty collaborative research and was published in an academic journal. She was also hired upon graduation, and she is currently the product manager at Advent Health Innovation Lab, which again was the internship that she was able to secure through CCLP.
So as we come to the end of our time together, 30 minutes flies by pretty fast. We wanted to introduce an activity that you might consider doing on your own time when you have the capacity. And we want to return to that opening where you thought about one person, colleague, or department that you haven't connected with in a while, and what's holding you back. So if you wrote that down, maybe take another look at it. The activity that we also just want to throw out as an opportunity to kind of explore the types of collaboration that we described today is an asset mapping activity. Many of you on the call are likely familiar with this type of activity where you brainstorm opportunities for collaboration in this case. You might consider who else is doing this work. When we did this as part of a strategic planning process a few years ago, when we thought about who's doing change-making work, okay, the Social Impact Hub was an obvious space, but we also realized that the Center for Career and Life Planning was doing some of that work, just maybe not using the same language that the Social Impact Hub was using. And then we also knew that we had faculty and staff champions across the campus. And so you see those three bubbles, right, on my asset map. Here are three groups that are doing this good work. What does that work look like? You see that I've put some bullet points, right, of things, people, ideas. And then is there overlap in the work? Absolutely, right? Not that anybody was doing the exact same thing, but we were doing things that were closely aligned and could be improved by talking to one another. And so, like Liz said, co-locating the programs has been really wonderful. When we can be back in the office more typically, right? I look forward to running into people in the hallway and connecting for those informal chatting opportunities that are more likely when you're co-located. But even if you're not, that exercise of, okay, how can I be intentional about connecting with people? So in our last couple of minutes, we're happy to answer any questions that people want to put in the chat, but we also thought we would invite you to put in the chat one action that you might take today to connect with that person or that office that you haven't connected with. Or maybe if you're like, I have no idea who I would connect with, maybe you put in the chat, okay, I'm going to do this asset mapping and do a little research and figure out who would be good to connect with. So I'll pause and see if there are any questions in the chat or if anybody wants to share their next action step about who they can contact to make that next step in collaborating across campus to elevate change-making work. And maybe because we only have 1 minute left, as people are doing that, we could go to our last slide, which just has our contact information. This conference has been really wonderful, and it will end, right? We will go back to, kind of our typical days, and we hope that if anything that we shared today was interesting or connected with the work that you're doing, that you reach out to us. We'd be happy to schedule time to share more and also to learn from all of the work that you're doing. And as Liz mentioned, for all of the students on the call, we hope that you'll explore the resources available through the Center for Career and Life Planning and through the Social Impact Hub. So maybe we'll just say thank you, because I think we might get kicked out in 15 seconds. Liz or Melissa, did you want to say anything else?
This was such a pleasure. It was really great to be able to speak about this work. I think it probably will allow us to hang out for a few more minutes. And I know there's usually a little bit of a lag with the chat feature. So if anyone puts any questions in, we can always see if we're able to hang out for a couple more minutes.
Siobhan, I think you're still here. And I just was going through the chat and I see that you responded to Liz's resources about starting your own social enterprise that empowers youth. And your project sounds really wonderful, hosting virtual workshops, teaching them about UN SDGs and how they can generate positive impacts. So kudos to you. And if you think it might be helpful in your work, I think that a lot of the material on the Social Impact Hub page, you can see the Instagram handles and various ways to kind of get connected. That might be a good next step for you, just to learn about some other work that's aligned with what you're doing.
And I'm not sure where you are located locally, Siobhan, but I always encourage people to network with people who are doing the thing that you want to do. If there is somebody who is an executive director at a small nonprofit organization, I am sure that they would be really gracious and excited to talk about the work that they do. Find out how they got started. How do you file the paperwork to become designated as a nonprofit? How do you write grants? Where do you get funding? These are important things to ask, and you might be surprised at the insight that you receive. All right, friends, what do you think?
I think the chat has slowed and that the next sessions are probably coming up pretty quickly. So if anyone is still listening and you have any questions or things that we can answer for you, please shoot us an email, connect with us on LinkedIn or however you prefer to connect. And yep, it was a pleasure presenting with you ladies. And maybe we can connect in WebEx or something, or see you at the fashion show later.
Sounds great.
Bye.
Thank you both so much.